Alright, so here's my review for The Batman, the new movie that just recently came out, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattison, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, and Jeffrey Wright. And of course, I won't forget Colin Farrell, who pretty much you cannot recognize in this movie as the Penguin, which is crazy. Whenever I ended up seeing him in the first trailer, and I saw that the Penguin was going to be in there, and I was like, who the heck is actually going to be playing the Penguin? And once I looked it up on IMDb, I was like, what? Like, there's no way that Colin Farrell is actually playing the Penguin. Mr. Pretty Boy is going to be this ugly villain, you know? But alright, the main thing I'm going to delve into here is a few points. I'm going to talk pretty much like cinematography, what I think about it, the story, the tone of the movie, the characters and the actors that are portraying them, script and dialogue, the music, and then what I think about the movie overall, or plausibility of the movie, like of the scenario. So to start off, cinematography, I think it's really good. I mean, I'm not a photographer or somebody who's ever done filming or anything like that, but just simply watching the movie with the angles and you know how whenever they're investigating, how they have these like over the top views of all the clues that the Riddler leaves, or when they're getting closer to finding him or whatever. Not to give too much away, but it is a superhero movie, right? Kind of like the close-up views that they have on the notes and stuff like that, and you see all this like contrast, right? Like you see all this fire and explosion with all the darkness, and there's a tone, to the city through the cinematography that seems pretty dark overall, right? So overall, I really liked the way the movie was filmed. Obviously, you can tell it's a high quality, high budget movie, right? Which, as it should be. The only complaint I think I have is, and I had a buddy of this mentioned to me that kind of caught my attention, and I was thinking it as well, but I guess I just didn't fully say it when I was talking to him. And it was during the chasing of whenever the Batman is chasing the Penguin, you notice that it's like too much of a close-up the whole time. And I kind of think that like the whole time they're filming the Penguin, it's from his rear view, from like you see his face and looking back and kind of like Batman chasing him and all that. But it would have been nice, like, or you see like the side view of the car a lot as well. A lot of close-ups during the chase scene that I think they could have kind of pulled back a little bit more to show a little bit more. And this is just from memory, from watching it. They could have probably done it here or there, but I guess I didn't feel that it was enough, and it was a little bit too much of being too close to the cars and the faces of the Penguin. I think the Batman at some point too. But besides that, I think everything was great. The moments where they show the Riddler, where you can't tell who he is, and he's there within the crowd and whatnot, and there's a part, and there's a clip online, so this is not really spoiling, but where they go to a funeral, and Bruce Wayne is there, and he looks up, and everybody's running scared, and he just stands there. It has this like crazy serial killer view, I guess, that they kind of took from the Zodiac movie, which is inspired, or it kind of inspired this movie, is I think what I heard Matt Reeves talk about. And yeah, I mean, overall, great cinematography. But anyways, story. I think the story was really good. I really liked the route that they took with the movie of making it a, the whole serial killer vibe. And this kind of goes with the tone as well. Like, the whole tone of the movie is way dark, right? So throughout the whole movie, you see it starts off with this guy getting killed, and I mean, I don't want to spoil too much. So if you don't want to, if you haven't seen it, go watch it and maybe come listen to this after that. I'm trying not to spoil as much, but somebody gets killed, and it's obviously the Riddler who's killing, right? Because he's going to be the main villain. So, you know, you end up having this whole like creepy vibe at the beginning where like you can see he's there, but the other person doesn't see him, and he's just standing there like a creepy, crazy serial killer. Kind of like, I mean, besides the Zodiac that was inspired by it, it's also, it kind of gave me the whole feeling of like Seven, the movie Seven. And especially like whenever they're finding all the clues and there's all these like pictures from the detectives or the forensic detectives, and you know they're looking at the bodies and this and that, and they're finding these notebooks and all that stuff. It really reminded me a lot of the movie Seven and the serial killer from that movie, which I think was great. I think it gave the movie, it really helped the story kind of make it more interesting and kind of hook you and keep you thinking like, you know, why is he killing these people? Why is he doing this? You know, what's his reason for selecting certain individuals? And it kind of like the movie overall has a really good pacing. Like the movie is 3 hours long, but it doesn't really feel like it was 3 hours long. It kind of just like flies by. Which surprising, you know, for a 3 hour movie. Usually a 3 hour movie is like after 2 hours or 2 hours and 15, you start feeling that drag, and it's like, all right, kind of wrap it up. It's kind of like, I mean, it's a different type of movie. You know, The Wolf of Wall Street is a movie I can watch and watch and watch, and I never get tired of it because it's just so fun to watch. You know, it has great pacing and great scenes and great, what do you call it, connections from one scene to the other, let's just say. So for this movie, it's the same. Like every single section or every single scene, I meant to say, it kind of like has a little build up, and it kind of just leaves you intrigued into like, oh, how are they going to do this, or how is Batman going to solve this, or who like, you know, whoever's helping him, are they going to keep helping him, are they going to kind of backstab him? And then you have the whole thing with the cops, you know, that there's a lot of corrupt cops. Obviously we all know that Lieutenant James Gordon is on his side, but he's the only one he can trust. But then later on through the movie, you start understanding, you know, why the Riddler's doing certain things. They start talking about, like, he starts talking about all that stuff. And I mean, I really liked the route that they went with him, of making him this crazy guy who knows who Batman is, or his true identity, and he's doing all these things to relay a message. And you know, you can watch the movie for yourself and figure out what he's trying to say or why he's doing it and all that. Not to give too much detail, but overall, great story. I really liked it. Really intriguing. It was really fun to watch. The tone, like I said, it was really obscure. They went a different route with Batman. They made him more serious, and not to say depressive, but I mean, think about it. I honestly think that if a dude has dedicated his life to fighting people, he lives in the dark, he lives in a freaking mansion that looks like a gothical, well, I mean, pretty much it is a gothical mansion. I mean, it's so dark and so depressive, kind of, you know, just from the look of it. Whenever you see certain views within the mansion, I guess you could say. But it makes you kind of realize that, you know, any normal human being, regardless of their purpose, their mission, whatever, living in those conditions, yes, he's a billionaire, he can do whatever, but, you know, he's depressed about his parents being dead. Okay, I get that. He lives, you know, in this humongous depressive mansion by himself with his butler and some other lady that works there, or whatever maids that he must have. And then he's got the Batcave. You know, he's got all the bats flying around there. It's really dark, and all he sees is how corrupt the whole city is, and it's always raining, and he's always out when it's dark, and it's raining pretty much all the time. So, yeah, I could see that the Bruce Wayne from this movie would be more serious, use less words, kind of just not want to be out in the public. They don't show Bruce Wayne being Mr. Playboy like in the Christopher Nolan movies, where, you know, you see Bruce Wayne as being a playboy, then you see him and his other version when he's with Alfred and he's more serious and all that. And then you see the Batman version, right? Here on this one, you see the depressive Bruce Wayne. Then you see the depressive Bruce Wayne that doesn't want to talk to anybody when he's outdoors, or he's just quiet, pretty much. Not to say depressive, he's just quiet. You know, I guess some people were calling him. I heard in some other, I guess, reviews or read that they were saying that he looked too emo, and it's like, yeah, I mean, he's got the black paint all over his eyes. You know, of course he's gonna look kind of emo, but I mean, at some point it was like, whoa. Like, the way I thought of it is, you know, he doesn't even take off the paint off his mask because he's so obsessed with investigating and working and doing all this stuff that it looked like the dude hadn't even showered for a few days, you know. And whenever Alfred comes down and says some things to him, I don't remember what he says, but, you know, he's got the paint on him. He looks over and he looks all, you know, like a My Chemical Romance-y kind of thing. You know, it's like, well, this dude is too busy working to go even wash his face or, you know, have a shower. So overall, I thought the tone was great with being obscure, dark, tense, you know, with the whole different villains that you see. And I think they pretty much hit it out of the park, you know. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that tone that they went, that is different from the Christopher Nolan one, that is still like, it still has that dark side in the Christopher Nolan one, but there was more jokes in that movie, especially, like, you know, if you watch The Dark Knight, there's more laughable moments with the Joker, right, because he has that quirkiness to him, and you don't see that quirkiness in this one. I think there probably was like one moment where it was kind of like a chuckling, you know, light laughing kind of thing, but I think that was it overall. And, you know, then you have, you know, what do you call it, Selina Kyle, Catwoman, who has also her side, and, you know, she's going through her things, and you kind of see the troubles that she's going through, and what's, I guess, not haunting her, but traumatizing, I don't even know if it's traumatizing, but the issues that she's having, and, you know, the people that she cares about getting hurt as well, and her reciprocating to those things, you know. But anyways, so I mean, this kind of is diverting from the tone now and going into the characters, and you know, talking about the actors that portrayed him. So I mean, starting off with what do I think of everybody? Starting with Robert Pattison portraying Bruce Wayne, the Batman. I think he did a really good job. Like I said before, it was a different type of Bruce Wayne, a different take on him, but I really liked him as Bruce Wayne. I think it was a very believable Bruce Wayne. I mean, he fits on the costume, right? I mean, he, like, when you see that part, the mouth, like, it looks like a Batman version, or Bruce Wayne. He looks like he could be a Batman, is what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't look, I guess, from his, like everybody was judging him from his past role of Twilight and all that. I mean, he looked pretty badass, really believable. As Bruce Wayne, I thought he did a good job. I will say that if I was to compare his Bruce Wayne to the Christopher Nolan Bruce Wayne of Christian Bale, I do think that Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne is a little bit more of the, like, even if Christian Bale had played a more serious Bruce Wayne, like in this one, I think maybe Christian Bale would have been a better Bruce Wayne still. Not that he should have been in this one. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying personal preference, and maybe that's because I grew up seeing the other ones before this one. So, you know, you kind of have that thought of like, oh, you're used to seeing Bruce Wayne in a certain way. But I still think that he did a great job, and he deserves to be Batman, Bruce Wayne, whatever. And I hope to see him in more movies, right? I hope there's a sequel and a third movie, and he's, you know, Batman in both of them, and they just continue it with him. And maybe, I think the only thing, I mean, maybe this is what I'm thinking about. They could have done something with the hair. The hair was a little bit weird. It's kind of a weird complaint, but like the hair that he has like toward the side, and it's like long and has this like, I don't know. I would have thought he would have had a different look as Bruce Wayne, and maybe that would have helped with seeing him as Bruce Wayne, I guess. But overall, I think it was good. So, Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Catwoman. I thought she was great. I really liked her. Like, I liked her Catwoman version way more than, oh man, I forgot her name. What was it? Freaking Anne Hathaway. I almost forgot her name. I think Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was better than Anne Hathaway's. I liked Anne Hathaway's as well. I did. I thought she was good. You know, she had that, like Anne Hathaway's was still like, you know, she was always like doing, like she's bad, but she's still doing good. Like she has a little bit of good inside. Zoe Kravitz's was not as much, like not as bad as Anne Hathaway's. You know, it's like she seemed more noble, even though she was still like stealing or whatever and doing all these other things, you know, in her own interest, right? But she seemed more, I don't know if noble is the right word, but that's the only one I can really think of at this moment. Despite like what later on, the things that she does or tries to do. But yeah, I guess that's like the vibe that I got from her. It's like, you know, she cares about her friend and this and this and that, but she still has, you know, her own interest in a certain way. Compared to, I mean, I think Anne Hathaway's had a friend too. I can't remember if hers had a friend that she cared about, but I noticed it more on this one. I don't know. And then, you know, the way that Zoe Kravitz's character, or I mean, Catwoman fights, I just thought it was way better. Maybe that was just a choreography thing throughout the movie. The choreography was way better, which I will end up talking more about that comparison between the Christopher Nolan and the Matt Reeves version. So now, Paul Dano as the Riddler, I thought he was great. I really liked him. Comes off as a complete psycho. Really, really good. Like, he has all these videotapes that he does, and he, you know, I mean, they based the videotapes kind of like the Zodiac, and they kind of, I mean, I can't remember if the Zodiac had videotapes, but I think it was like phone calls or something he would do. But I like that he had that, like that, how would I say, that different, you know, persona of like, he's like yelling at the TV and during the recordings and really like into his whole message and whatnot. And then later on, you know, there's a moment like, and, you know, I think you see it on the trailer when he's in a diner. There's a moment later on there when you get to see him for the first time, his face, and he has this like look in his eyes that is just like, this mofo is super crazy. And it's kind of like one of those guys that like, they're so crazy, but you haven't seen the craziest thing about them yet. And he has this like little smirk at some point when he sees Batman that I thought it made it pretty cringy, you know. And Colin Farrell as the Penguin, I think I've said this a little bit before at the beginning of the audio. He was great, you know, like especially like I said, you can't tell that it's him until you know that it's him with the costume. Then you can kind of see it in the eyes. But overall, like, the costume was great. You know, he's got this whole Italian mobster from New Jersey, you know, type, with his little, you know, with his accent and the way he carries himself, the way he walks. I thought he was really good. And I mean, even though he's not in that many scenes, I think it's probably like 5 scenes he's in the whole movie. But they're really good scenes, and I think he does a great job at delivering as the Penguin. You know, comparing it to Danny DeVito's Penguin, which if you look at Danny DeVito's Penguin, he looks more like, you know, the animated series version. But Colin Farrell's looks more like the version from Batman Arkham, except he's not as short as the one from that game. Right? He's a little bit taller, and you see that in some of the scenes or the shots that, you know, he's not as short, but he's got a little bit of a belly, and he's got the scars, and he's got, like, you know, bigger nose and all that. So it's like a more realistic look to the Penguin. And I don't think they call him the Penguin. No, they do say the Penguin. I think Batman calls him the Penguin or something like that. But I think overall they call him Oz throughout the movie. And I'm thinking that probably in the second movie, he'll probably become fully the Penguin, I guess. And then Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. I think he was really good. I really liked him. You know, he's got that cool voice that he has in every other movie. Whenever he's in James Bond or Westworld, he's got that like quieter, deeper voice that it really helps, I think, for this type of movie, especially with the detective scenes when they're investigating and all that. So I really liked him. And I think for the other characters like Carmine Falcone, I think John Turturro was really good. Comparing him to the Carmine Falcone from the Nolan, I mean, they're both good. I think they're just different versions, right? I mean, looks wise, but both mobsters are both bad, crazy. I think they were both good. I mean, that one, I think it's just personal preference, whichever one anybody prefers. Same thing for Alfred. I mean, I liked Andy Serkis in this one, but I kind of have a soft spot for Michael Caine and his cool British accent and his little jokes he would have and throughout the Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. So I personally preferred Michael Caine, but I still think Andy Serkis did a good job as Alfred. So I think the other thing too is, like, you know, if you really watch the movie, you know, and you compare it to other ones, like if you listen to, you know, like the script that they have or the dialogue throughout the movie, if I recall correctly, there aren't any moments where you're like, man, like this is getting corny, or it's kind of lame, or like nobody would have said that in that part, or anything, or anything like that, you know. Especially, like, you know, you think of the Riddler, and you look at the comparison of Jim Carrey's, which is a totally different, you know, tone of a movie or type of movie, but you know, the Jim Carrey one was like Jim Carrey acting as the Riddler, right? It's just like, it has Jim Carrey written all over it. It's almost like you're watching The Mask, but just with a different suit. So I think that the writers did a really good job at developing the characters in this movie, and everybody having their own, you know, type of dialogue that really resembled the characters that they're portraying, you know. Even like Bruce Wayne's, who has less, like, he doesn't talk as much as in other movies, or like the Bruce Waynes from the Christopher Nolans, let's just say, because those are the more recent ones. But I think it still like helped to add to, like, to kind of see where he's at mentally and emotionally, you know. And especially like with Colin Farrell's like the Penguin, the whole Italian way, like there was a part where he's like, yo, take it easy, you know, with the whole Italian and mobster kind of thing, right? It kind of really helped to I guess see him as that Italian mobster, you know. Not that like one accent did it, but just the whole vibe that you get from him, and even like what's his name, the Carmine Falcone in this one too. It's like he like, whenever he's walking around and he has this like whole like alpha maleness, where like he's just like, you didn't hear him yell when he's in the club like talking to the girls, you know, or like if anybody says anything to him, he just has this little like smirk, and then would just have these little things to say. I don't know. Overall, I really like the script and, you know, or dialogue of the characters in each scene. I like that Batman has to have like a raspy voice also. He just kind of whispers and makes it, you know, his voice less recognizable that way by whispering in a little bit deeper voice, but not too deep, where it's like, you know, kind of like in the Dark Knight trilogy, you kind of start getting a little tired, or you know, or just like there's times where like I remember thinking in the Dark Knight, like, dude, Lucius Fox knows who you are. Why are you still talking in the deep Batman raspy voice, you know? Or I can't remember who else he talks to, but that already knows who he is, and he keeps talking that way. And it's like, okay, I don't think you need to keep talking to people that know who you are in that tone of voice. But, you know, I guess I think Christian Bale said that it's the only way he could feel like he's the Batman, right? But anyways, okay. Last but not least, the music. The music was really good throughout the whole movie. It really adds to the scenes, making them more, you know, makes you kind of think that the music helps you feel more curious about what's going on, and kind of like helps you get, I think, engaged in the scenes. And one thing I noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people noticed it who have watched the previous ones, but a lot of the sound of the music was similar to Batman Returns from Tim Burton. Like, I mean, I can't imitate the noise, but I'll try to see if I can find it and put it somewhere. You know, I mean, I'm sure that if you Google it or if you YouTube it, you'll be able to find comparisons of the music between both, and you'll see. I mean, I'm pretty sure that sound is from like resembling the Batman Returns from Tim Burton, where Catwoman appears, you know, portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer. But yeah, like this doesn't have that like that music like the Hans Zimmer, where you can recognize it's Hans Zimmer music, you know. But yeah, I'm looking right now on IMDb that the music was by Michael Giacchino. I've never heard of him actually, but I thought he did a really good job. I mean, I'd love to go listen to the soundtracks again to kind of compare it, you know, the soundtracks from this Batman to the ones from the Dark Knight trilogy, and like the Dark Knight trilogy has more of a like the Dark Knight trilogy, the music has more of like, it kind of like starts ramping up whenever you have those certain sequences of action, and it's more like, I don't want to say inspiring, but it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. But if you go listen to what's his name, Hans Zimmer's The Dark Knight trilogy music, it's got a definitely different tone, and I would say that got different build up, you know, to like whenever he's having to rush to go save Rachel and what's his name, Harvey, or whenever he's, you know, fighting everybody in the like in Batman Begins, when he, you know, throws the thing into the explosives and he starts fighting everybody from the League of Shadows and all that. Like those parts, like there's a different tone. And even like whenever they show the Joker in the Dark Knight trilogy, it has that little like pinging, not pinging noise, but that little zooming kind of pinching noise. I don't know what the actual verbiage is for it, but like that, I remember that created like a certain type of suspense, but it wasn't the same type as like suspense or mystery, especially mystery, that I think the music in this new Batman creates. And I think the last thing to kind of talk about is the one thing I really liked about this movie was like the whole how believable it could be, or like how plausible the movie could be, because like throughout the movie you see Batman, like he takes punches from like fighting like the grunts, you know, like, or whatever gangsters are out there, or you know, any little, you know, like low level gangs that are tormenting people and stuff like that. You know, whenever he fights them, like he does get hit and whatnot, or he'll get shot while fighting them. And you know, since he has all his armor, you know, it's like boom, it hits his armor or his Kevlar, whatever it is, and he keeps, you know, pushing through and fighting them and whatnot. So I really like that they didn't make it where, you know, if you watch the Christopher Nolan, it's like half the time like they'll shoot at him but they don't hit him, or they're all like in the choreography of fighting in the Christopher Nolan ones, like they all always wait for their turn, even though they have like an assault rifle or a shotgun or a pistol. Like Batman will be fighting one dude, and then the other dudes behind are just like all there watching and waiting, and they all take turns going one by one, and they get really close to him and try to hit him instead of shoot him, or they put the gun really close to him where he just like takes it from them, which the more you watch it, the more you notice it, and if you pay more attention to it, the more you notice it as well, right? And in this one, overall, like you don't see that. You see, you know, he gets shot, he's in the dark, so they can't really see him. They'll start shooting, and sometimes they hit him, but he'll, just get to them quickly and knock them out. Or if he's fighting, some people, like, he'll get hit or punched from or kicked from behind or something, and he'll turn around and get to him. Or, it kind of is more like, there's more of the brawling, I would say, and it's a more believable that, he can't get to everybody at the same time, but he's still, good enough to beat them all. And I mean, later on in the movie, you will notice, like, there's a part where I was like, man, like, how are they not shooting him or hitting him? They're shooting at him, but they can't hit him. And I probably need to rewatch that scene and see why they couldn't hit him. But, there's still, like, parts, again, where they end up, they shoot him, they hit him, and all that stuff. And then, he has to do certain things to kind of get back in action. And I won't get into it just so, whoever hasn't watched it, I don't ruin it for them. But yeah, I think that was like the main thing about the whole movie. The choreography was way different. He was also like a lot more, he seemed like not angrier, but more, maybe just angrier and aggressive. Like whenever he would fight someone, he was like, knocks his ass out, and it almost sounds like he breaks their bones or hits them in the face multiple times, kind of intimidate the rest. And the whole story wise, the whole story is pretty believable too, with all the the corruption going on, and then you got the serial killer, and then you got the certain people disappearing all of a sudden and whatnot. So yeah, I think overall really believable, plausible, whatever you want to call it. I really enjoyed the movie. I think if I was to give it a rating, like, to me, The Dark Knight, the one with the Joker with Heath Ledger, that to me, maybe I have a soft spot for it. I want to say that's a 10 out of 10 for me. This one, I would give it a solid 9.5 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. And even like comparing this as the first Batman with Robert Pattinson compared to the first Batman with Christian Bale, which is Batman Begins from 2005. Like, if we're comparing those two, like, I would give Batman Begins an 8.5, let's just say, and this one, like I said, a 9.5. Like, I liked this one a lot, and I think it's a great route that they're going with the Batman storyline. And I'm really hoping, and from the ending and the Easter egg or whatever they call those little surprises at the end, I really think and hope that the next one really builds upon all the characters, develops them more, and I really hope they make it another 3-hour movie that is really well paced, because I will definitely go watch it within a few days of it being in the theaters, just like this one. Overall, if you really see a lot of the movies that come out, they're crap, they're boring, they're lame. This one, I think that they really knocked it out of the park, and these are really the type of movies that I would always be willing to pay, what was it, $13, $14, whatever it was, to go watch it at the theater. So anyways, if you haven't watched the movie, I highly recommend you to go watch it. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. Even if you're not a Batman fan, I think that you're going to enjoy the whole mystery, detective, serial killer, Zodiac / Seven. If you haven't seen Seven, go watch it. It's a great movie too. But anyways, you're going to enjoy that vibe, and I think you're going to, anybody who enjoys a good movie with good storyline and good acting and good characters is going to enjoy this as well. So hopefully this convinces anybody who hasn't seen it. I'm sure there's a lot of other reviews out there that go into more probably deeper analysis than this, or better analysis as well. These are just my random thoughts of the movie after watching it, and not seeing anything being kind of like shoved down people's throats. It's just like they just really, I think they did a good job of just making it something that's enjoyable to watch, and there's no like message being like shoved down your throat or anything like that. It was just really good entertainment, and I really can't wait to see more of what's going to be done. I keep hearing that there might be an HBO series of the Penguin and Gotham PD or something like that. And I heard that there might be 2 sequels, like I said earlier. So hopefully, besides that, they end up doing a lot more, and hopefully we get to see the Joker in a sequel, and hopefully whoever plays the Joker does a great job. Obviously, they have a lot to live up to, since Heath Ledger did a great job, but there's a lot of good actors out there that I think could do something different and hopefully believable and good. And I'm thinking that at some point they could do something with Two-Face also, where he doesn't have as unrealistic or over the top scars like they did on Christopher Nolan's. I know they exaggerated that way because whenever they had it more realistically, he said that it looked way too scary or something like that, or creepy to have it on the movie. It would have probably changed the ratings or something like that. Like made a rating R or something like that. I can't remember, but hopefully they're able to do something with Two-Face as well. I think it's always good to have him in these movies. And I don't know, as long as they don't do anything with the ones that are less plausible, like Killer Croc, or Bane. They can do something with Bane similar to what they did with Christopher Nolan's, I guess. But like Mr. Freeze, like how would you do that without it being more sci-fi, right? So I hope they don't go. I know they're great characters for the whole Batman universe, but I really hope they don't go the route with these and just kind of keep it to the ones that are more realistic type of villains, that don't have superpowers or super anything, and it's just they're just believable characters that could really exist, I guess, quote unquote, right? So anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up. I really appreciate it, and make sure you like the video, subscribe, and keep uploading more movie reviews soon of anything that catches my attention. All right, peace.